everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Devin, this is Levanson, this is Brooke, and this is Maggie. And we're pretty excited. We've got a very interesting lineup for you today. We're going to talk about real estate in Costa Rica, and we have our real estate extraordinaire expert from the Gracia Naranjo Sarchi area, Brooke, and then we also have Maggie, who built a house here in San Luis, and we're going to talk to her about her experiences with building a house.
Okay, I'm Brooke Bishop. I've been working with Go Dutch Realty for 12 years. I work in the Gracia, Sarchi, Naranjo, Palmade, San Ramon areas of Costa Rica, which are small coffee towns west of the Central Valley. We're about 45 minutes to San Jose, and I work in both sales and rentals. I'm from Michigan originally. I've been in Costa Rica for 20 years. I came as a volunteer in 1999 to work with a small group in Sarchi, where I reforested old coffee plantations, cleaned out rivers, helped clean alongside the roads, and helped to initiate some other environmental changes for Costa Rica.
Okay, we're going to get started now, and I'm going to man the camera from the backside. I'm going to leave Levanson out there with Brooke, and we're going to get started. So let's talk about real estate, buying, selling, and renting as it pertains to expats and the expats that are either moving here or currently living in Costa Rica. Many expats fall in love with Costa Rica the very first time they visit, and it's not uncommon for the first thoughts which come to their minds after visiting to be, I want to live there, or I want to get a place there. And one of the most common questions I get from people is, where should I live? This is always a complicated and a very personal question, so today we'll look at this question and address it as it pertains to real estate. And I've compiled a list of the most commonly asked questions that I receive, and we will address each question from the perspective of buying and renting. So, Brooke, what, if any, should people keep in mind as far as real estate goes when choosing a location to live in Costa Rica?
Well, there's lots of different climates in Costa Rica, which if you've done any research about the country, I'm sure that you know. You can be warm on the beach, you can be cool in the mountains, so climate is definitely something you need to think about. Are you looking for 90s? Are you looking for 70s, 60s at night? Or what kind of climate do you want? Price is also very important. Some areas of Costa Rica are more expensive than others. You can still get pretty good deals in the Central Valley and in the northern part of Costa Rica, although there aren't very many services offered there as far as infrastructure and amenities. Also, the beaches are a little bit more expensive, so I guess
the beaches are very popular.
Beaches are very popular.
Usually when I get questions, people say, I want to be by the beach. They want all these things. They want to be by the beach, by the mountains, by the waterfalls. They want everything in one. They want to be able to walk out of their house and go to restaurants and whatever, and they say, where should I live? So that's a good answer.
So when you're looking for properties for your clients, how do you find available housing? How do you do a property search? Do you use Craigslist or the internet? Do you guys have the MLS there?
There are different forms of the MLS, but there is no MLS as people in the United States and Canada are used to. My company is part of the American European Real Estate Group, and we have our own MLS, but there is no universal MLS for Costa Rica. So as a realtor, when I first started, I would call for sale signs, I would look on Craigslist, I would look on the for sale by owner advertising, but now fortunately I don't have to do that. Most people will call me. I get calls, probably 5 calls a week to list new properties. There's no exclusivity in Costa Rica, and I think that's something that people should understand. So I can have something listed as any other realtor in the area, or even realtors in San Jose can have the same property listed. Hopefully we all have the same price, but sometimes the owners don't always keep us updated on the prices, and so they'll change it with one realtor, or they'll change it in their own advertising and they don't tell us. But yes, generally I get calls now. I don't have to look for listings anymore.
Do you ever find, or do you think that, because a lot of people when they're looking from the States, they just go on Craigslist, and they just look for houses to buy on Craigslist. Is that like a recommendation, or is that a
No.
good thing to do?
I
or
would not recommend that.
You wouldn't recommend
No,
that?
I
Okay.
wouldn't, because there's a lot of things that can go wrong here with a house purchase. So it's really important that you're working with a realtor that you trust, or a lawyer that you trust, or somebody that I hope has come recommended by somebody that you personally know.
Also, the other thing my brother noticed when he was here, he was looking for, and this kind of will go to a little bit maybe with what Maggie's going to talk about later, but he was looking for a lot to buy. And if you're going to buy, if you want to just pick out some property to buy or something like that, do you still need to go to a realtor, or do you just go up and down the street and call the numbers on the signs?
Looking for vacant land is possibly more important that you look for a realtor, because there's certain things that we need to make sure of before you actually purchase the lot. And the most important thing is that you can build on it. Because there's underground water in Costa Rica that the government owns. There are other reasons why you may not be able to build on a lot. So it's very important that you do the correct due diligence to make sure that you can do what you want with the property that you purchase.
Okay, wonderful.
Final thing was about vetting real estate agents.
Okay, well, with renting, a lot of people also do look at Craigslist, whereas that isn't quite as dangerous, I guess I could say, as purchasing. You still want to make sure that you know who you're dealing with, that as a realtor, when I have rentals, I pretty much can ensure that as long as everything is met by the contract, you'll get your deposit back when you leave. Otherwise, I won't work with those sellers anymore, the owners of homes. You want to make sure that the owner of the house is going to do upkeep on the house.
That's very interesting too, because I had read that most of the time people do not get their deposits back when they're renting. So
I take it very personally. I try
Okay.
very hard. As long as everything has been done correctly by the tenant, the 30 days notice, everything is in good order, then you really should be able to get your deposit back. And I have actually delisted owners of homes who didn't have a valid reason not to give the deposit back.
Wonderful. Okay.
So that's a very good reason to call Brooke.
Yes.
Before, not after.
Right.
Yeah, so
Betting.
yeah, the vetting. What would you say about that? I mean, how can you really?
Well, the best thing is word of mouth. So
Okay.
on either social media, or you can go to a real estate's webpage. I have dozens of testimonials about how I have been with my clients. You can tell a lot by a real estate webpage. If the listings are up to date, if you contact a realtor about 3 listings and none of them are available, then that's kind of a red tag on that realtor,
Right,
I would say,
right.
because I try to keep my listings as up to date as possible. It is possible that an owner would rent a house or sell a house without telling me, but for that to happen to 3 or 4 houses is unlikely. So.
I have a question too about real estate agents, for instance. How do you actually even find them? There's like no yellow pages or anything. You just go to the internet and put real estate agent for the city that you want to be in?
Yeah, I think that's probably your best bet, just to go on, Google or whatever your search engine is, and either properties in Gracia or properties in Playas del Coco or wherever you're looking, or realtors. And then, it's really handy to get on Facebook and just start asking around.
Now, are there actually a lot of real estate agencies in Costa Rica?
Yes.
There are, okay.
There really
The
are.
short answer.
Yes, there are.
Okay.
Let me answer that question for us. There are realtors like grains of sand on the beach.
Well, the other thing was
How many are official?
the other thing was too, people are acting as real estate
Yes.
agents, but they're just
Taxi
people.
drivers.
They're just people, right?
They're just regular people because my dad called it the Wild West, okay? So real estate here has come a long way in the 12 years that I've been working. My broker, Ivo Hendling, he has really tried very hard to get us organized so that we have a set of rules that everybody goes by, which are fair. But still, it's still the Wild West. And, buying a property from a taxi driver is it's even more dangerous than just driving around and calling
With the taxi
numbers.
driver, no. Okay.
So, Go Dutch Realty your areas of operation, do you go outside the Central Valley? You know, in other words, do you sell property in Puerto Viejo? Do you sell it in Playa del Coco, or are you just primarily Central Valley? That's a two-part question. That's the first part.
The idea behind Go Dutch Realty is that we live where we work. So
Okay.
I'm very aware of what a good price is in my area, which
Makes
is,
sense.
you know, Gracia to San Ramon. We have 5 agents. We have somebody in Cariari, which is in San Jose. We have an Atenas agent. We have 2 agents in Gracia. We have a Escazú and Santa Ana agent. But Evo created the American European group of realtors, which theoretically involves realtors that can all be trusted. So if I have a client that calls me and is looking for something in Puerto Viejo, then I've got my guy that I can call that I should be able to refer my client to, and they'll take good care of my client.
Wonderful.
That was my second question, so you answered both of them. That's all I have.
Okay. The next question is, do you need a real estate attorney to buy, and do you need someone who speaks Spanish to help you?
Well, yes, you need a real estate attorney to buy, and I would recommend an attorney with experience in real estate, not your girlfriend's cousin who, you know, went to law school and graduated last year. It's important that you have somebody that has experience and comes recommended. That's.
Do you have referrals for real estate?
Yes, I have.
Attorneys that
I
you can
do.
get to people? Okay.
I have several that I've worked with throughout my 12 years that I trust, that I like, that are bilingual. They're not expensive, they're honest, they're fair, and they get right back to you.
Ah, perfect.
And it's important that somebody speaks Spanish because, well, I guess it's not crucial. Your lawyer will speak Spanish, and if
Right.
you trust your lawyer, then that pretty much takes care of that part of
Right.
it.
Okay.
I have a second part on that. You know, we're accustomed to certain ways things are done in the United States. Generally, like in California, for instance, you don't have an attorney. It's handled by a realtor and a title company. The title company is responsible for the legalities of title of the property and also for insuring the property. I'm kind of unclear about how that works here. How is title guaranteed here? Is it because the realtor does, the attorney that you hire does this, or are there title companies, or how do they do that?
That's
No
a really
title
good
insurance,
question.
is there?
Yeah, there's no title insurance per se. There's really no title insurance. They claim that there is, but it's not really necessary here either. We have the National Registry, which is pretty much up to date. Every 24 hours they refresh it so that it becomes up to date. Every property in Costa Rica should have a plot map, and that plot map has a property ID number. With that property ID number, before I even list a property, I look on the National Registry. We all have access to this. It's in Spanish, of course. But I look on the National Registry. I make sure that the property matches, the description matches the plot map, that the seller is who I was talking to.
Minor detail.
Yeah, things that I make sure the size is the same. I make sure it's the right location. Your lawyer will do this same due diligence when you go to buy. As far as title companies, we are now starting to work with escrow companies. Before, a lot of people, we avoided the escrow companies. Even in the past, when I first started, lawyers had escrow accounts, but it became too complicated, and many lawyers do not have escrow accounts now. So what we've been doing in the last year is there's several escrow companies in Costa Rica that are trustworthy, and it's a little bit more money, but it's 100% safe. So it's how I prefer to do it now.
Okay.
I think I saw that number on our lease. It was like for
Exactly.
something at the bottom. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, here's the property.
It's really very organized here. People don't realize,
You just don't know.
right.
So-
It's behind the scenes stuff.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, when it comes to buying real estate, as a expat, do you need to be a citizen? Do you need to be a resident, or do you perhaps not have to be either?
No, you don't have to be a resident or a citizen to own 100% of your property in Costa Rica. On the beaches, the rules are a little bit different. I don't believe we would need to talk to a lawyer or a realtor on the beach for that, but I know that before you couldn't own 100% on the beach. I'm not sure how it is now, but aside from the beach, yes, you can own it 100% just with your U.S. passport.
So,
Or your passport from wherever you're coming from.
right, even if you were not a resident, you're going to leave in 3 months, you can still own the property.
Exactly. Yep.
Right.
Nice.
And
I
you
see.
don't have to be here for any particular length of time, Or
No.
can you buy from the States?
You could potentially buy from the States, but you would need to have a power of attorney for somebody to accept it into your name.
Ah.
Or it could be passed from somebody that you trust, from their name to your name once you arrive. Or you could do a power of attorney through a Costa Rican consulate in another country.
Are there any other prerequisites regarding renting?
No. There's just a passport. Just your passport is fine for renting.
If you're a renter, so you get a property, you have all the rights that any citizen renter would have also if you rent a property as an expat. Is that correct?
That, I believe, as long as you're in good standing and you have not overstayed your visa, then you should have the same rights. We may need to talk to a lawyer about that because I'm not positive.
Okay. So there is some open question whether, if you're not a bona fide resident, whether you have the same rights under Costa Rican law as other tenants do.
That's correct. I do believe, though, as long as you're in good standing with your visa, because you're given a 90-day, generally it's 90 days, it can vary, but as long as you're in good standing with your visa, I believe you have all the rights, but we should probably check that out with a lawyer.
So the last piece on that is, I'm not a resident, obviously not a citizen, not me, but I'm saying in this circumstance.
Right,
I rent a house, and in 90 days I have to leave, so I leave. I still have a contract for that house.
That's correct.
I still have all the rights even though I'm no longer president of the country. I come back in, let's say, 30 days or 60 or whatever it is, but during the time I'm gone, because I left, does that void my contract on that property?
No, not as long as you're paying the rent.
Okay. Okay. All right. That answers the questions that I have.
As long as the rent is paid, you're good.
Okay.
So along those same lines then, what documents do you actually need to have with you when you're buying and also when you're renting?
Just your passport
Just
is
your
sufficient
passport?
for both.
Wow.
I know. I don't have any further
No questions? Okay.
Now it comes down to the nitty gritty. It's called the money. the
money, honey.
money. Yeah. So can you finance a house purchase in Costa Rica?
Not through a bank if you're not a resident or a citizen. Some owners will do owner financing,
I see.
generally for less than 5 years. They, for the most part, want half down. And then interest rates, well, at banks, people pay 10% here. So for owner financing,
Is that
it can
good?
be
No.
4 to 10, I guess,
4 to 10.
in owner financing, because they kind of got you where they want you. There's not very much flexibility on sale price usually with owner financing either.
So I had no idea about that because I had always thought you could not, you couldn't finance here. So as a temporary resident, I could do financing, but it probably would have to be owner financing.
As a
right?
temporary resident, I believe you could get a loan from the bank.
Wow.
Because you've got Costa Rica documentation. As far as owner financing, you could do that with just a passport, and it's legally registered into the National Registry. So we don't need to. It's completely 100% legal.
Wonderful. That's nice to know. Okay.
So if you're a resident and you go to the bank and you want to get financing, it's possible to do, but how likely is it? I mean, how stringent are they? Are they more stringent with residents rather than citizens as far as qualifying is concerned?
No, I don't believe that they are. When I got my bank mortgage, I was still a resident, and so, or I was a resident. I don't believe that they're, as long as you've got all of the paperwork for the property that you need, and you've got the finances, or you've got proof that you can pay for it, I don't think they would treat you any differently.
I see. And you said, but the banks require how much down?
I believe it's, they'll pay 80%, so it's 20% down with banks.
20% down.
I think that's...
I see. Okay, there was some other question I was going to ask about that financing. I can't think of it now, so I think I will go back.
Most of my clients, I would say 95% of my clients purchase with cash.